The Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. These videos are aligned with standards set by the Tennessee Department of Education. For more professional development videos, check out our website at cem.mtsu.edu.
All right, so our first presenters, would y'all join us up here, please? Tennessee Department of Education. We have Jamie Grammer, Brittany Slagle, and Sherry Smith with us today. So ladies, if y'all will come on up, I will give the floor to you.
So good morning again. I am Jamie Grammer. I'm the school counseling manager with the Tennessee Department of Education. Recognize some familiar faces in here. And if I haven't met you yet, I would love to meet you today and just find out where you're from and how you can get involved with the things going on for school counselors in the state of Tennessee. I have two colleagues with me today, and they are going to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their work. So my position, we're all in 3 different divisions of the department, and they'll kind of give you the rundown on that. I'm with the Division of Coordinated School Health. So if you don't know, Coordinated School Health is made up of 8 components that really support the overall well-being of students in the state of Tennessee. One of those components is school counseling, psychological, and social services. So it only makes sense that school counseling falls under Coordinated School Health. My biggest advice, and this is not in the PowerPoint, is if you do not know your Coordinated School Health coordinator in your district, get to know them. Find out who it is. If you need me to get the name of that person, let me know. I know budgets can be tight from time to time. They do have a little bit of money. Now, they may not have money for you this year, but go ahead, bring them a coffee, bring them a donut, slide right up to them, tell them about the things you have going on, some projects you might want to do, and just get your name out there and say, hey, if you've ever got any cash in the budget, I'd love to do XYZ, because they do support all 8 components of Coordinated School Health, and school counseling is one of those components. So I'm going to give you just a few updates, some work we have going on, some ways you can stay connected, and then I do have one little addition that is not in the PowerPoint that I do want to mention just to make sure that you're aware of that. And then Brittany and Sherry will come up and share some updates from their division as well. All right, we have to put this disclaimer in everything. Please don't use generative AI tools. This is just, that's it. Just don't do it. Okay, so we're gonna do Coordinated School Health updates. Brittany's gonna come give you updates, and then Sherry's gonna come and give you some Project Raise updates, and then I think we're gonna have time for Q&A. So if you have questions, you can jot those down, hold them till the end. All right, so Coordinated School Health updates, just a few things we have going on. On our website, you will find newly created role matrix documents. We're very excited about that, and then underneath that, you'll see the Advancing Comprehensive School Mental Health Pilot. Maybe you saw that advertised. Some of your districts may be participating in that. Basically, we heard from districts that there is a large need for district personnel, staff, parents, everybody to really understand who the mental health providers in the building are. What is everyone's role in overall student mental health and well-being? So we developed this pilot, and we have 23 districts, and we'll start training late summer into the fall for these districts. And basically, what it's going to do is show districts how to use the folks they already have appropriately. Where do they have gaps? Where can they fill in gaps? How can the folks they already have in the building fill in those gaps? and really see, are you overlapping services? Like, do you have a community mental health partner that's coming in and providing services that your school counselor could actually already be providing, or that your school social worker could already be providing? So those role matrix documents are just a piece of that. And it really goes through what is the scope of practice for school counselors, school social workers, and school psychologists. We think it's really important for people to know what you do, because you may have an administrator or people in your building that really don't understand what the school counselor does. They either think, you sit in your office and kids come in there from time to time and you know, tell them everything's gonna be okay. Or maybe they think you're just in the rotation, the specials rotation, and you go in and talk about feelings and being a good friend. But it really goes in to explain what all you could be doing. So those 3 documents are available on the website. You'll get more information as we kind of move through the pilot. We really wanted to start small. It's 2 to 3 districts in all of the regions across the state. And we really want to see, is what we're doing working? Is this pilot going to be something that's really useful for districts, where you can really take what you already have and figure out how to make it so that it supports students at the most basic level. And that's gonna bring in school staff, nurses, all other folks, not just the folks that really have gone to school to be mental health providers, but how does everybody in the school community really support that work? We also developed a conflict resolution guidance document that came out of some legislation last year. So if you're interested in that, that's also on our website. And then we're doing some work with the School Health Advisory Council statewide shack. And one of the things that was kind of brought up is, what do we do when students are coming back from a mental health facility? A lot of districts didn't really have guidance on, okay, what do we do? They didn't necessarily have a policy in place. So we have a guide that we've come up with. Again, you don't have to follow it to a T, and you may already have something really great in your district, but if you don't, this is a perfect way to kind of get some guidance on what are the things you need to have in place when you have students come back. Pieces of it can also be used when a student is returning from a juvenile justice facility. So just a lot of things that need to be in place before a student comes back from a mental health facility. All right, ways you can stay connected. The School Counseling Advisory Council, we would love for you to be a part of that. We have a few spots available for this coming school year. 3 years is the length that you're part of the council, and then you would rotate off, and then new members. We have a few council members in here now. But if you're interested in that information will come out in the newsletter. I'll skip to the bottom, the Regional School Counselor Collaboratives. During those collaboratives, we talked about several things, and one of the things that came up was, I just kind of thought about this, was the School Counselor Regional Response Team. And basically what that is, and you'll be able to sign up if you're interested, is when things happen in your school community, a lot of times you get that support from the folks in your district. Other school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, everybody kind of pitches in. But who supports you while all these other folks are coming in and supporting what's going on in that situation, supporting the students? So this would be, basically, if something were to happen in one community, there would be school counselors in surrounding communities that would be willing to come in and help support the school counselors that are in those districts that are facing those tragedies. I kind of think right now with everything that's going on in Texas Hill Country, that situation. I can see where, especially if they were currently in school and that happened, where everybody would need to come together, and that's where surrounding counties could come in and really push in to support the people doing the work. I'm happy to give you more information about that. It will be in the newsletter for you to sign up. Please don't feel pressure. I told everybody at the fall collaboratives and the spring collaboratives, do not feel pressured to do this. If you have a lot of things going on your personal plate, do not feel bad if this is not something that you can do at this time. I am starting a school counseling teams page Right now, the School Counseling Advisory Council, they're the only members on the Teams page. If you've not been told this before with the department, and Sherry and Brittany know this, everything that we put out in front of you has to be approved, and it has to go through multiple levels of approval before they, rubber stamp it and say, okay, you can send it out to everybody. With the Teams page, that would be a place for you to interact, for me to share things with you that would not have to go through our communications process. It would be an easy and quick way to get information out and for you to get resources from your school counselors across the state. So that's really the reason for that. I would love to be able to say if something comes across my desk, I can just send it out to the school counseling listserv, but that is not accurate. I have to have many levels of approval. And I'm sure Laura and Jenny can both vouch for the fact that, my PowerPoint is late all the time because things may or may not be approved on time. The School Counselor Connection, that is the school counseling newsletter. So if you are not receiving that, there's going to be a QR code on the next page for you to sign up for that. If you're not sure if you're receiving it, go ahead and sign up again. You won't get it twice. You'll only get it once, even if you're signed up more than once. But I restarted that back in August, and so it runs from August to May, and it is just, hopefully it is useful information. I try not to make it too lengthy because I know you have tons to do. You don't have time to read all of that, so I try to kind of make it concise, but put information in there that you need. The School Counselor Listserv, again, that's not something I use often, because so many things have to go through that approval process. I've probably sent maybe 2 or 3 things a year, but things like the mental health pilot were announced that way. Any updates that really need to be shared with school counselors immediately that have gone through that approval process, this would come out in the listserv. There'll be a QR code for that as well on the next slide. And then the very last thing, I love that MTSU does this. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a wonderful way for you to be with school counselors in the summer, get some PD. But one of the things I wanted to be able to provide is another opportunity for you to meet with fellow counselors in your districts, in your region. So I have hosted this past year, I started in March of 24. I think I got this position in March of 24. So one of my goals was to bring the collaboratives back, because when I was a school counselor, I enjoyed so much getting to be around the people in my region that were doing the same work that I was doing. So there are fall and spring regional school counselor collaboratives, and we would love for you to be a part of those. Those dates and signups will be in the newsletter. I'm still finalizing dates and locations, but there will be the goal, and we're taking it down to 7 instead of 8 this year, but the goal is for there to be one within an hour to an hour and a half of everyone. So hopefully you will find a location. You do not have to go to the one that's in your region. You can go to any of them, the date and location that are most convenient for you. But we'd love to have you there. Those will be in the newsletter, so that's why it's so important to sign up for that. Okay, so this last page is just, for me, if you need to sign up for the newsletter, it's there on the left. Listserv is on the right. While you are doing that, the thing that is not on this PowerPoint, and I wrote it down so I would read it specifically and verbatim, there was a lot of issue with the Families' Rights and Responsibilities Act that came out last year. And some of you are nodding your head like, yes. There has been an adjustment. So I want to read you part of the adjustment that has been made. Now, I say this, but just remember, I'm not giving you any legal advice. I don't interpret what the law means. That, of course, is your district, your board, and your board attorney. But this is an update to that Families' Rights and Responsibilities Act. So it is TCA 63-1-176. And it's that parental consent required for treatment of minors. Remember, it covered nurses and lots of folks. It didn't specifically say school counselors. But a lot of districts interpreted it as school counselors and said their counselors couldn't do certain things with students. It has now been amended to say, and this is number 9, a school counselor or school psychologist licensed by the State Board of Education, and that's important, pursuant to Title 49, who provides preventative and developmental counseling. So that means, based on what it says now, that parental consent would not be required for anybody that falls here. Now, I say that to let you know your district may still require consent. They may still decide that that's in the best interest of your students. But this is specifically, it says, a school counselor or school psychologist, which that language was not a part of the original law, licensed by the State Board of Education pursuant to Title 49, who provides preventative and developmental counseling, okay? And again, that's 63-1-176. If you want to look that up, pass that along to anybody. I don't know if that's going to be helpful. I think the language is helpful, and if you can share it with folks, I think the best will be yet to come. But I'm glad for this adjustment, because I think before it was clear as mud and people were interpreting it very, very differently. Okay? All right, that's it for me. I am going to turn it over to Brittany and let her take the next part here.
All right, thank you all so much. My name is Brittany Slagle. I am part of the division formerly known as CCTE. Some of you all will get that. Our division name now is Post-Secondary Workforce, CTE, and Military Readiness. I started with the department back in February, so I'm brand new, but I'm formerly a school counselor, high school counselor, for about 10 years or so. I live in East Tennessee, so way on the other end of the state. We had a nice little drive-in this morning. So I am in that area. If there are any East Tennesseans in the room, I'm happy to come meet with you and see you all and kind of talk to you about some of the things that we're doing in our division. So in my role, I have 2 main buckets of kind of priorities right now. One of those is working with career coaches. So if you have a career coach in your building, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, I would love to know about them, because career coaches are kind of hard to find across the state because they have so many different titles. Sometimes they're called career coaches, and that's really easy for me to find, but sometimes they're work-based learning coordinators, or sometimes they're college access advisors, or sometimes it's career advisors. So if you have a career coach or someone that serves in that capacity in your building, let me know, or let them know, and hopefully I've already been able to reach out and kind of get in touch with them. But the other bucket of work that I am doing a lot with is the high school and beyond plan stuff. So the high school and beyond falls within the Office of Academics, which is kind of why it's in our department. So I'm just gonna kind of talk to you all about what that policy is, and then kind of give just new updated information, and hopefully just make it a little bit more, that policy a little bit more clear. But before that, I'm gonna talk to you about the middle school courses. This also falls within my division too. We have 3 different career exploration awareness courses that can be taught in middle school. The career assessment or career awareness, that can be taught in grade 6, and then exploration can be taught in grade 7. And then in grade 8, it's career advising and planning. But that also, you might hear that in high schools as well, because that's also a high school course, or can be. And really what these courses offer is just an opportunity for students to learn more about themselves, to learn more about the careers that they're interested in, their aptitudes, their likes, their dislikes, because sometimes that's more helpful than learning about what you like to do. So this really just gives students an opportunity to dive into those standards with someone who is just really enthusiastic about helping students figure out what they want to do after they get out of school. So these standards have been updated. They're currently going through a newer revision. Those should be available in August. But they are available. The standards have not changed very much from this last school year, so those are available on the website for you to take a look at. But there will be a new version this upcoming school year. All right, some policy work. So the Career Interest and Aptitude Survey, I get a ton of questions about this just because the policy is it's new-ish in conjunction with the high school and beyond plan, so this one has kind of been elevated a little bit over the last couple years or so. TCA 49-6-412 is the one I'm going to be referencing today, and it mainly just talks about the requirement for an aptitude component to be given in middle school, as well as like further down in that law, it does say that a career interest assessment is required as well in different grades. So we're going to kind of get into that a little bit and then talk about some different resources we have to support that work being done in the schools. The career assessment list, this is a screenshot, but it is currently on TDOE's website. So if you Google, I typically Google things before I search their website. If you Google TDOE career assessment list, this will pop up. There are some different versions out there that have been like archived and stuff like that. But if it has my name on it, that's the most current one. It's been updated as of February 2025. This kind of gives a good analysis of the different career assessments that have reached out to us to be included on this list. It is by no means a full comprehensive list of all of the different programs and platforms out there. But it is a good start, especially if you're just trying to get something like this implemented in your school, or if your CTE director is working on that too, because I know they've got a lot of Perkins funds that can be spent on career assessment things. So make sure you talk to your CTE directors and let them know that this is a resource. A lot of contracts are starting to wrap up, and a lot of districts are looking at other options as far as different ways to serve their students and also meet the law. So if they do have questions about the different components of it, this is a great resource. This is not a Brittany Slagle compiled resource. Like I said, this is totally vendor supported. So they fill out a form, whatever information they put on that form is what goes on the list. So there's no interpretation by me. It is 100% what they record on that. So, but it does go into just details about what the vendor, the website, the product, what it offers, what it can help students with. And then, like I said, it is getting a little bit of an update as of hopefully the end of the month, I'm hoping. We all know how things go with getting updates done. So this will look a little different. These titles up across the top, the wording's gonna be a little bit different. So I've really gone into that document and tried to simplify it and make it as user-friendly as possible, because that helps me, and I hope that it's helpful to you all too whenever you're going through all the different options, because there are so many. Okay, high school and beyond plan. A couple of years ago, this policy was put into place both in middle grades and high school policy. So it's new-ish. It's been around for a couple of years, but it's really starting to pick up traction now. And this is if you Google or go to TDOE's website, the middle school policy 2.102 and then the high school policy 2.103, this will pop up. And I think it's about on page 8 or so. So you can kind of get the full information about what this high school and beyond plan is and how to be in compliance with that in your school. So really what it is, okay, I still have more words here. So what it is basically is a roadmap really for students beginning in grade 8 to support them through high school and then 2 years beyond, hence the beyond part. So it includes information about post-secondary, whatever their plans are, if it's going into the workforce, if it's going into the military, if they're going to be enrolled at a trade school or technical school or community college or 4-year. It kind of outlines all of that for a student. So the biggest part of this plan is the class mapping, or the course mapping. So it really gets into the progression of courses, helping students understand when they take what. So if if they have confusion about, I know a lot of my students, whenever I was in high school counseling, they were like, how on earth are we going to get all of these credits done? And I'm like, it's going to be fine. You're going to get it. But this high school and beyond plan really helps them see that. It really creates a visual and also allows it's a good conversation tool whenever students aren't really sure what they're wanting to do, or they don't even know really what's offered at their school, especially if they're in 8th grade, to be able to connect with what they want to do after high school. So the high school and beyond plan is a perfect tool for those kinds of conversations. It is required for all students. So right now, since the policy went into effect, the students in a high school currently that should have a high school and beyond plan are going to be the current 9th grade. So pretend we're already starting the school year, current 9th and current 10th grade. And then the current 8th graders will get their high school and beyond plan by the end of the school year. So there are some just different components of the high school and beyond plan that make this a little bit different than the historical 4-year plan, because that's what a lot of people think of whenever they think of the high school and beyond. They relate it to the 4-year plan. And the 4-year plan is great and it's informative, but the high school and beyond plan really gets into the details, right? Because that's where all of the good information comes from with our students, is in those tiny little details, the learning about what their aptitudes are, or helping them learn about what their aptitudes are, looking at that career assessment information, and then tying it back to a program of study that's available within your building, or intentional dual enrollments, being able to make those connections for students, because you can't help what you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know until you have someone who does know that can help you kind of walk through that. So yeah, those are the students that are supposed to have the high school and beyond plan. The policy does say that if a student has an IEP, that transition plan can substitute for that. It meets the requirements. I still think that a high school and beyond plan is good for everybody, because that IEP, that transition plan, it may or may not get into information about the industry credentials that a student can earn, or intentional cross-cutting electives that they could take to enhance a program of study. But this high school and beyond plan can kind of really dig into that. There's room and space for that. That transition plan on the IEP might not have the room, because those can be quite lengthy. So the high school and beyond plan can be, a student with an IEP can have a high school and beyond plan, or they can just have that transition plan, or both. It's really up to your school and kind of what the preference is there. All right, so this part goes back to the aptitude and the interest assessment, and this part of the policy just outlines, hey, maybe you should include these results as well to help just really paint a good picture for that student and the different classes that they could take at your school, depending on what their aptitude and interest results are. Another part of the policy states, it kind of gives like a timeline of it, and I'm going to get into the official timeline here in just a second. But ideally, it should be reviewed annually and updated as the students' plans change. That's really hard. If you're in high school counseling, their plans might change every day, and that's not what this policy is saying. So it just should be reviewed annually. I know whenever I had students, one day they wanted to do one thing, and then a couple hours later, they came back and they're like, Miss Slagle, guess what? I figured it out. I'm like, well, you just told me that like 2 hours ago, so we got to figure some stuff out. So ideally, the high school and beyond plan will help guide them through that, even though knowing that they will fully change their minds. Hopefully, they will change their minds in a direction that supports their goals even better than what they had planned before. The fun part of this policy is that it does state that it has to be stored in a student's cumulative record. I'm working really hard to get this part changed, because I think having something digital is going to be easier for everybody, for students, for counselors, for parents, for advisors. There's so many different ways that schools have really embraced this policy to be super comprehensive and collaborative, and for it to just rest in the student's PR, that is not accessible for anybody. So I'm working hard to change that, and to hopefully just have that requirement that plan has to exist in their PR prior to them graduating and moving on. So I'm working on that. I realize that's a big pain part with the policy. So we are navigating that. Okay, here's the timeline. In 8th grade is whenever the aptitude, 7th or 8th grade, is supposed to be administered. So the aptitude can happen The interest assessment can also take place here as well in middle school. And then the initial draft of the high school and beyond plan can be composed. Now this in 8th grade does not have to include all of the years. It can if you're in middle school counseling and you feel comfortable being able to map out the whole thing, but it does not have to. It only has to be planned out through grade 9. So a lot of counselors, a lot of schools are doing this during registration to kind of help map that out. That's a really natural place to fit high school and beyond anything in, is during registration. So it just has to be planned out through grade 9. In grade 9, they will hopefully have an interest inventory to be able to further build out that plan using intentional options that apply to them. In 9th grade, it should be built out through grade 11. And then we get to fast forward a little bit more, we get to grade 11, and that's whenever those 2 years post-secondary comes in. So a lot of counselors will have junior meetings to prepare for senior year. This can be updated then to include important dates, important information for financial aid if they're going or planning to go to a specific school and they've got their eye on this big scholarship, then we can put those dates in there and just kind of go ahead and have those conversations about what those requirements are. The next biggest question I get is, this is great, but do you have a template? And the answer, unfortunately, is no, we do not. But there's a good reason. Whenever I was a school counselor, I was like, please just give me something that I can use. And I didn't fully understand why we couldn't do that. And that's really because every single school looks different. One high school might have another high school that's 10 minutes down the road, and their population, their culture, their course offerings is gonna look different, let alone the difference between East Tennessee and West Tennessee. So the department really wanted to allow flexibility with this part of the policy. So schools and districts have autonomy here, which is sometimes a blessing and a curse. Sometimes I would love to have a black and white template, tell me what to do and I will do it. And then sometimes I really enjoy the flexibility. So hopefully you all really enjoy the flexibility because there is no template currently. We do have some things in the work that will hopefully be able to support high school and beyond plans moving forward. But as of right now, there is not a required template. There is guidance, like I was saying earlier, on what that template should, what all it should address. So as long as it meets those different points that are required, you're golden. So, and however you want to distribute it, we've got some districts that do, it's built into their career assessment. They're able to kind of modify and make changes through that to help plan out the courses, link dual enrollment, industry credentials, all that fun stuff. Some do a paper version of that and they write on it and give it to the student, and then I don't really know how that works. I feel like that would be a lot of work, but it's done, and some schools are doing it great. Some have a completely digital option through Excel or Google Sheets or anything like that. So feel free to get as creative as you need to with developing whatever kind of template you want to use, as long as it does meet those requirements. There are a couple of documents or resources that are in the works currently. There is an FAQ on TDOE's website right now. So you can go to that and kind of look at those most commonly asked questions that we've gotten. That is changing also. Since I've started in this role, I've gotten even more frequently asked questions. So I'm adding to that. That hopefully will be available on the website at the end of July as well. The end of July for my division is like a big time because we're currently going through an entire website scrub. So it could be that you go there right now and cannot find some of the things because things are not in a place where they used to be or feel like they should naturally be. That is because our website is getting a complete new redesign, and we're super excited about that. There will also be a high school and beyond plan guidance document that I've worked to put together. It has a bunch of information about it kind of gets into the nuts and bolts of what the high school and beyond plan should include, what it can include, how it can be helpful, what are some different things that can be done at school to help support that, who can be involved, because it doesn't just have to be the school counselor. It can be anybody really who has, the biggest prerequisite for that is they have to have good working knowledge of graduation requirements and those course substitutions. because it's not going to help our kids, our students out at all if they just don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So that is the biggest prerequisite, is that whoever is working with these students, they do have to have that good working knowledge of the requirements for graduation and post-secondary. So typically the people who in your building who are just super passionate about advising, making those connections with students, they might be a good resource to have on a team of people that review or update these high school and beyond plans. There's so many different ways to tackle this policy. And that guidance document is going to also talk about some different ways that schools and districts across the state are implementing that really include a lot of collaboration from school counselors, from administrators, from career coaches, from your nonprofit advisors that work in your building. So it can be and should be a very collaborative thing in your building. Okay, so the last thing is virtual office hours. I've got one more coming up this summer, and that is at the very end of July. All of these are held on Teams, so you can, I think, Jamie, you've pushed that out in the school counseling newsletter. So if you get that newsletter, you can just click that link and it's going to take you right to it. There will be more dates, obviously. We're going into the future here. I'm shooting for about 2 a month or so. So if you have questions about this policy, it's a really good time to come in, kind of review things, ask and answer questions, get feedback from other people. I've had a pretty good turnout. The first one was really awkward. So if you attended the first one, many apologies. Nobody talked. And I was like, man, some dialogue would be great here. But there's no new information that's provided during these office hours. It's really just a time for counselors, for administrators, for district leaders to come in and ask questions about the policy or just get feedback. Sometimes just being able to share your ideas with other people kind of helps you formulate a plan and figure things out. So this is a really great time to do that. The first one was the only one that was awkward. So if you attended that one, sorry. If you attended the second and third one, thank you. It was a great time. So definitely encourage attending those. It's just an hour. It's a pop in, pop out thing. So if you have a question, I will be there awkwardly unless someone has a question. So come on that, ask questions, and then you can leave. Or you can stay for the whole thing and kind of dialogue with the other people. So it's really just meant to be a time for you all to come in, ask questions, share ideas, and then get any kind of feedback if you need that. So those are coming up. And I think that is all for me. One more just plug too. If you all have any questions about high school and beyond, you can email me, you can call me. I think our contact is at the very end. If you would like just to have another set of eyes look at your plan to make sure that it's good, it's probably good. But if you just want that reassurance that you all are doing some good work, if you're really rocking and rolling with the high school and beyond plan, I would love to know that, because we still have several districts who are just getting started and who need some support. So it's really helpful for them if they call me and they're like, Brittany, we're really struggling, we need some help. And then I'm able to say, oh, well, this school in Jefferson County, they're doing a really great job. Or Sullivan County, they've got a unique plan. Or Bristol's great. Those are all my area folks. Johnson City. But really across the state, a lot of schools are really implementing this high school and beyond plan in really creative and helpful ways. So if you do have questions, please hop on, please share your ideas. And we'll brag about you if you're doing something really great. I'm hoping to get those good ideas pushed out to a lot of folks so we can kind of have a good understanding of what's going on across the state, what works, what's not working, what we need help with. So all of that. I think that's it for me. All right, I will turn it over to Sherry. There we go. All right, she's gonna talk to you about Project Raise updates.
Good morning, how's everybody? My name is Sherry Smith, and I am going to give you some updates for Project Raise. And so let me start by telling you a little bit about RAISE is an acronym for Rural Access to Interventions in School Environments. And so we are starting year 3, And our big initiative this year is $25,000 in 2025. And so I want to tell you about that and some of our other initiatives that we have been listening to our school districts as we go into year 3 with our grant. We've been listening to what administrators and school counselors and school psychologists and school social workers say to us, and we've been trying to revamp or shift and do some things to help support our districts a little bit more even than what we've been doing with the original goals of the grant. So we'll go back and give just a little bit of history. The project began in 2023 and we began with 40 school districts. All of our rural school districts in the state of Tennessee were eligible to take part. So we reached out to them and they were given an opportunity to become part of Project Raise, but they did have to say that they would partner with us, that they possibly had openings in school counseling, school social work, school psychology, that they were looking to fill, and they were having a hard time filling those positions because a lot of our rural school districts have a hard time competing, especially on the pay scale when you're talking about that, and resources with some of our larger school districts across the state. And so this grant is intended to push in and help support those rural school districts in what other ways we can. And so we started with 40. Year 2 was last year. We had 59 school districts, and this year we have 58. And so initially these were stipends that we're paying to our school counseling interns of $20,000 for a school counseling intern that is in the last part of their graduate program. And so they would go into one of our rural districts, partner with a fully licensed school counseling supervisor, and we would pay them $20,000 to do that. Our school psychology interns was $60,000. Our bachelor's level social workers, $15,000, and then our master's level social workers are $20,000. We were also and continue to pay our field site supervisors. So those of you that are fully licensed by the Tennessee Department of Education as a school counselor, we pay them $1,500 per semester that they work with one of our Project Raise interns. So those are nice benefits. Some of the other benefits that we did put in place as well and continue. So now we're in year 3. So year 1, 2, and 3, we have also professional development has been very important to us to make sure that we are helping support our interns so that they are getting quality professional development that pertains to their field. Because as you know, a lot of times the professional development that's offered in the districts does not necessarily have anything to, well, it does have something to do with us, but it may not be what we need at the most. And so professional development has been very important, so we pay for them to go to Scally, our interns and our supervisors. We also pay for their Tennessee School Counselor Association membership for 1 year. And then if any of you were able to go to the did any of you go to the Project Raise Mental Health Conference? A couple of you did. That's going to be an annual conference that we offer every year. And so we put that conference on. We listen to what our interns and what our supervisors and our school counselors across the state said they needed, our school psychologists and our school social workers, and we included trainings that dealt with those topics. And so that will be in May again of this next year. We also do a monthly professional development online, virtually, that we provide to all of our interns, our supervisors. Anyone in the district may watch those. If it's something you're interested in, let me know, and I will add you to, like if you think that it's something you might want to participate in, they're all virtual, then let me know and I'll be glad to include you in the links so that you can jump on those calls as well. We have one a month, and they all pertain to issues, trainings, professional development that is geared for school counselors, school social workers, and school psychologists. And I keep saying all 3 because we do deal with all 3 buckets. The grant is written for all 3, and so I'm going to kind of take that focus to make sure that you know that we are supporting all 3 of those professions. I'm not going to read any of these out to you. I just wanted to pop them up so that you could see that we are in West Tennessee, Middle and East Tennessee. These are some of the districts that have partnered with us in different regions. This list is on our website, so you don't have to look up there and say, oh, she went so fast I didn't get to see if my district is there. It is on our website. You can go there and look to see if your district is one of our partnering districts. What I always caution people to look at is make sure that you look at the district. So I'm from Middle Tennessee. I'm actually Southern Middle Tennessee, so I know there's a lot of different districts that some of them might have city schools or special cities or special school districts. So make sure that you look at our list to see if it is on there. So we've listed the actual districts. So like, I'm thinking of Coffee County. So Coffee County is one of our partnering districts, but Tullahoma City is not. Manchester City is not. So take a look to make sure you kind of, when you're looking at those, that you look to see if it includes the district that is listed there, okay? So here's just a snapshot of our work from 2 years. We've had a total of 56 interns over the course of our year 1 and our cohort 2. We're getting ready to start our cohort 3, and it is our largest cohort. Right now we're at 46 interns moving into cohort 3. Now that does include all 3 fields, okay? So this number is for all 3 fields, as you can see up there. So reflections on years 1 and 2, some of the other initiatives that we have put in place is a mentor-mentee model. We have developed that with partners from different universities that have been working with us. We had a group from our cohort 1 that were agreed and signed up that they wanted to be part of our mentor-mentee project. And so we have gotten that finalized, working with them as our trial group, working with them as our pilot group, and they have given us wonderful feedback, and they have been part of this throughout the entire school year of this last school year. Our documentation, this model is going to be posted on our Project Raise website. So the reason we're doing this is because a lot of our school counselors said, you know, I'm graduated, I'm year 1 now, and there's no one in my building that does the work that I do. And so, you know, if I'm fortunate, I might have someone else in the district that I can reach out to. But what we did with this is we want to encourage our districts to take this model, and it's going to be presented to them at our kickoff, which is this week. It's on July the 11th. We're going to present this to them, the mentor-mentee model, so that they understand the importance of, you know, when you have a school counselor, school psychologist, and a school social worker in your school district, putting them with someone who does the same job, if you can, you know, and that they've got someone who's mentoring them past that first year. And so that's something that is coming to our website. Be on the lookout for it. There will be a tab that will have our model there. We have awarded funds to 41 school districts in cohort 2 for recruitment and retention, and I'll give you some numbers on what that looked like as far as actual people. And then we have revised and implemented our Grow Your Own program for school psychologists, and we're looking at developing that into not only school psychs, but possibly in future years, school counselors and school social workers as well. But for this year, it is for school psychologists. So as far as our numbers are concerned, you can see with recruitment and retention grants, we were able to help our rural school districts recruit 17 school counselors. We were able to help them recruit 18 school psychologists and recruit 4 social workers. How did we do that? We gave them, in cohort 2, $9,999 that they could use as a bonus or as a stipend, on the front end, or they could hold it until Christmas or to the end of the year. The district got to decide how they issued that money, but that's how we did it, is by giving the district the money so that they could try to compete in some way with some of the districts that are around them that's pay scale is higher. Okay, and then for school psychologists, we also in cohort 2 had a piece where you could give a stipend to your school psychologists who have been with you already to try to just say thank you, to keep them, to incentivize them to stay. And that, with 79 of our districts use that, or 79 school psychs were able to receive that funding throughout last school year. This school year, going into the 25-26 school year, all 3 fields will be eligible for recruitment and retention. So a school district can take funds and say 5 school counselors get a stipend, maybe all their school counselors, and they have 5 of them. One of their school psychs gets a stipend, and then, or a bonus, or however they want to do it, the district gets to decide. But the money will be given to the district, and this year it is $25,000 that they're going to be receiving. Okay, so going into year 3, recruitment and retention for currently licensed professionals. So this is separate from our intern initiatives. These recruitment and retention funds are only for those already licensed, currently licensed professionals. Okay, so we've got several different initiatives going. We've got the recruit and retain interns, and then grow your own for school psychology, school psychologists, and then retain current employees. So that is moving into our year 3, our big initiatives that we are going to be really pushing out. We've still got our interns. Like I said, we've got about 46 that are starting with us going into year 3. But on the side of that, we're also supporting the districts who say, hey, what else can we do? And so we've added these extra initiatives as well. As I've already said, I'm not going to read all of that to you, but I'm just going to say, again, the funds are available for the sole purpose of recruitment and retention. It is a bonus. It's meant to go to those licensed applicants. New hires can also receive that bonus if they are new to the district. If they're not a Project Raised intern, we have a different initiative for them, but those interns are required to stay 2 years in a Tennessee school, and one of those has to be in a rural public school. The second year has to be in any public school in the state of Tennessee to meet those requirements. We didn't feel like it was fair or made sense to go ahead and give them a bonus on top of that when they were supposed to be there anyhow, right? So that's the reason they are not eligible for those funds. The districts do have to apply for these funds, the $25,000. They have to let us know how they're going to use it, and they'll have to report on it. They'll have to sign a memorandum of understanding with us and understand that the funds for recruitment and retention can only be used for that sole purpose. And that's those funds can be carried over to the next year. So if a district doesn't spend all of those funds, they can carry it over and use it the next year. But again, it has to be used for recruitment, retention. It can't be used for something else, okay? So we've been, and we do a lot of tracking with it to make sure that that is what's happening. At the end of the year, they'll have to send us a budget verification sheet. They'll provide the name, the license number of the employees who received those stipends, and they'll report to us as part of the grant. So Grow Your Own is another initiative with Project Raise, and this is for school psychologists, and this is for in school districts who already have a current employee who is interested in going back to school to become a school psychologist. So maybe they're wanting to go into an EDS program or a doctorate program toward gaining their licensure as a school psychologist. So what we will do, we have 15 candidates, which it's full this year. We've already received all of our applicants that we are going to be able to take for the 25-26 school year. Districts have already nominated folks. They've gotten accepted into programs, and so we are paying for their tuition. So we will pay for their tuition to receive their EDS in school psychology up to $50,000, okay? Again, we're looking at in future years with the grant a possibility of including our school psychs, our school social workers and our school counselors in that initiative as well. But for this year, 25-26, it is still school psychologists that grant goes towards. Okay. This is the bonus opportunity I was talking about for our interns. So if you are a Project Raise intern, do we have anyone in here that was a Project Raise intern? No? Project Raise districts? How many Project Raise districts are in here? Not many of us are in here. Okay. I came from a rural district as well. So what I was going to say with this is we are offering, so they have to stay 1 year. If they stay a second year in that school district, that rural school district, so let's say someone was hired, I'm from Franklin County, that was my school district. They were hired in Franklin County. Well, then the next year they decide they're going to stay a second year. We're giving them a $5,000 bonus because they stayed a second year in that rural school district. Okay, so that's for our Project Raise interns that were cohort 1. So if they've done their 1 year that's required through the grant, and they decide they're going to stay an additional year in that rural school district, then we are giving them a $5,000 bonus. So going forward, ask questions about Project Raise, reach out to me, mention Project Raise funds. You know a little bit about it. If you want to know more about it, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be glad to share that information with you. We do know just from the data that we receive from our interns, most of our interns find out about Project Raise, find out about this opportunity through their university professors. So we've worked really hard to build those relationships with those field placement coordinators and with your university professors so that we get current update information to them about the project, and they are oftentimes sharing it with their students, or they invite us to come and talk to the students, which I've done that. I spent a big part of my last year doing that, and I loved it. It was a great opportunity, but that's where our students are finding out about it. So they're hearing about Project Raise from our professors in our universities that have these programs, and it's been great to have that support from the universities. Our big kickoff, I did mention this, is an opportunity where we bring all of our interns, our field placement supervisors together, district supervisors, university partners. That's going to be this week. It's actually July 10th and 11th. At the end of this week, I'll be in Chattanooga for that. It's a day of professional development that we offer to our interns, but it's also a day of networking and for our interns to get to know and get to be with their supervisor. We play some games, that kind of thing, but eat really well, and it is a great day of getting information about the project as well. All right, and that is my contact information, and I appreciate your time and listening, and if you've got any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, and our Project Raise website has also got tons of great information on there if you're more interested in the project. Thank you.
I know one thing from me, I appreciate the fact that we've heard information, today's July 8th, we've heard information that went into effect July 1, right? Y'all, that's a good opportunity here to hear some clarification of new laws that went into effect on the 1st. So y'all, questions about the updates you heard or about anything else?
I was just thinking about the high school and beyond plan, like working with 8th grade high school and then after high school. Like, are there any examples that you can think of off the top of your head? Like, how are the schools, the districts, like, how are they collaborating? Because I feel like when you're going middle school, high school after, how do you kind of keep the continuity across with the plans?
Great question. The thing I love most about the high school and beyond plan is the collaborativeness of it. So what we're seeing that's working well across the state is those high school counselors and those middle school counselors coming together, talking to each other about graduation requirements, talking to them about the different options that they have. So really kind of opening that line of communication up. I know for me, sometimes it kind of felt like high school counseling was completely different than middle school and elementary counseling. Totally different bear, right? So being able to come to the table with those folks, which we did during professional developments and during in-service, which we know how that goes sometimes. There's just not a lot of time to get everybody at the table to talk about the same things. So this sense of collaboration that the High School and Beyond plan is designed to include is really opening the doors to have those conversations from middle school to high school. And then the high school counselors are already, I guess depending on the caseload, like the case model breakdown, are already really knowledgeable about the post-secondary part. So then it's just finding other folks in the building if you want it to be even more collaborative and not just live in the school counseling office. Or if you work in a high school and you're one of one counselor, being able to have those caseloads are huge. And tackling something like High School and Beyond can feel really overwhelming and can add to an already full plate. So the whole point is to be able to bring in people that can provide advisement or guidance or just answer questions or be a person. Maybe it's a homeroom teacher, depending on how the school days lined out. There are a bunch of really creative ways that I've seen districts kind of implement that and get so collaborative, it's crazy. One district that I like to brag on a lot, they have a post-secondary support team. So their team is composed of school counselors, of administrators, of career coaches, of course, like the middle school counselors, the high school counselors, teachers who really have a passion for helping students kind of navigate high school and what that looks like. So they provide a stipend to those folks, and they build out these High School and Beyond plans after, like with the 8th grade. They start after school with those registration appointments. They're talking to the parents. They're providing just information about what the school that they're going to looks like. So they've gotten really collaborative with just about anybody who's interested in and kind of being able to provide that support. So yeah, you're welcome. That was a great question.
I'm a junior senior counselor, and I have really fallen in love with the College for TN resources. They do such a great job. I don't, because I have juniors and seniors and about 450, like probably a lot of us do on my caseload, I don't get a whole lot of time. But what I've done is I go into my senior classrooms a lot. Thank goodness senior classes are not tested, and so my teachers are very generous with me. And that's primarily what I do is they just give you everything you need on College for TN, especially those fast guides. And I think they're expanding that down into the elementary schools. Cannot a collaboration with TSAC, THEC, and that team that puts together all those wonderful resources, can a template maybe not be worked into that FAST guide maybe in cooperation with them, and that way all the tools and everything we would need for that College and Beyond plan would be there? Now, we're very fortunate. My job has gotten a lot less stressful because my district hired a graduation coach. I was that too for a while, as a lot of everybody else in here is. And so I've used that, and then my freshman, sophomore counselor, we go into those senior classrooms together, actually. But we have a vice principal that's really advocated for us, and we've put in a much better homeroom advising program. And, you know, if there were activities we could hand those homeroom teachers to do, I feel sure at least most, now I know not all of them, but most of my homeroom teachers would do that with them in their advisor session, and then we as school counselors could look that over. But those people at TSAC, I think, they just do such a great job with that. I think maybe we could pull on them.
We actually have a really great partnership with the folks over at THEC. For those of you that attended Spring Collaborative, so in the fall, the THEC, what did they call them? Maybe FAFSA boot camps, I think. You're rocking your shirt that you got at that event, I'm sure. So they had theirs, and then I had my collaboratives, and then there's a collaborative here in the fall. You know, it's a whole thing. We actually, in the spring, partnered with them and plan to do that same in the fall. So it will be kind of a full day of information from TDOE and from I think they're officially THEC now, because I think they dropped the TSAC Park and they're just all one group. We can mention that to them. I think the issue with them doing that would be the stepping on the toes, probably. And Brittany, you might be able to speak more to that. They could probably come up with something. But yes, if you have not checked out the Next guides, you need to do that. They are fantastic. They started with high school, but they have gone to middle school, and there's even an elementary, and they're doing 2 separate elementary guides, like I may get this wrong, sorry, Dwayne, K2 and 3-5. So they're even splitting up that elementary, but you are exactly right. There are so many activities, and College for TN doesn't pay us a dime to say anything nice about them, but there's so much on that website, and it is absolutely free, and it is a great, great, great resource. But I mean, we can always mention it to them. But yeah, good folks over there.
I know in the middle school Next guides, they do mention, I know they don't call it a high school and beyond plan. I think it's like a high school plan of study that it's referenced as in the middle school plan. I've reached out to our, they're so amazing, our partners in that, to see if we can kind of get the language consistent, so that if students are reading it or if parents are reading it, if they're not super familiar with what a high school plan of study is, and they don't realize that it's a high school and beyond plan, they might think they're doing 2 separate things when in reality it's kind of the same thing. Just so we can get kind of language consistent across the board. That accomplishes a whole lot. It kind of gets everybody on the same page, but also it promotes the policy itself, right? So it's getting that the words high school and beyond plan. It's making students and families familiar with what that is. So I've had a couple sidebar conversations with them to see if that's something we can do. Now for this year, the physical Next guides have already gone to print, so that's definitely not something that you'll see in the hard copies. But hopefully, maybe moving forward, we'll be able to get some good resources for that in there. So those are great resources.
And the elementary ones are so cute. Like they have like coloring pages, and they're just adorable. They showed us like a sample, like a prototype at the Spring Collaboratives.
I do have a point of clarification, please, Jamie. Okay. Would you, since this info is not on the PowerPoint, would you go back on chapter 63?
Yes.
And just give us the information again and explain how school counselors need to consider that in their practice?
Yes. So in the previous iteration of the policy, it was very blanket, and it was not specified that, it didn't specifically call out school counselors or call out school psychologists or school, which it still doesn't in school social workers. So a lot of districts took that to mean that their school counselor could not conduct classroom lessons without consent, because it was really a gray area. So some people really went to either the far right or far left and said, okay, well, our counselors are not doing anything. So this clears that up, so that if you're specifically, I would think, because it says, and I'm reading because I don't want to misquote, preventative and developmental counseling. So to me, and again, this is me, please get an interpretation from your administrators, your school board, and your board attorney. But that would specifically cover those classroom lessons. If you're going into classrooms, I would not think you would need a consent to be able to conduct classroom lessons, because it says preventative and developmental counseling. Again, you need to do whatever is considered in policy at your local board, because if you do not know, Tennessee is a very much LEA-driven, LEA decision level state. So the policies and laws and acts are put out there, but then the LEAs can interpret them how they want to. So I would share this with your supervisors, with your director, basically whoever gave you the information about families and rights and responsibilities last year, which It might have been somebody that was not in your district, but let them know that this has been updated, because that's going to be important, at least for, I know some of the work that was going on across the state, because I had counselors say, my administrator, my district will not let me do classroom lessons. If I don't have a consent from everybody in the classroom, I can't do a classroom lesson. So I think that should eliminate, hopefully, this section. But you probably need to draw attention to this with someone in your district, because a lot of times those things may not trickle down like they should. Okay, and that is 63-1-176. And that did go into effect July 1. It also clarified, and I didn't bring this up, but it also clarified some things for nurses, because it was basically school counselors and school nurses were highly affected by this that went into effect last year. And there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of variance across the state on how it was interpreted.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
We've got time for about one more question.
Well, I just need to know how to get to the next guide for K2 and 3 and 5. I don't see it.
It may not, which I think, it may not be officially, like I said, she showed us, I think it was the K2 guide that she had? That had the raccoon?
Yeah.
She had like a big one. It was a mock-up of it, so it may not officially be ready to go. But it's coming, because she did. She had a mock-up of it. And that gets them it gets even the littles talking about what do careers look like. And school counselors are included in that next guide.
And we do have time for another question. That was a quick one.
All right, while we're waiting on, in case somebody has a question, give you a little more think time, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And if you go home this afternoon, or maybe you put all this information aside until you actually have to go back to your building, and you're like, wait, who talked about X, Y, and Z? You can email all three of us. You can email one of us. It does not matter. We work closely together, so we will pass along whatever information or get you whatever information. But we do want you to reach out to us. My name, my first name, and my last name are both spelled weird, so if you get your email back, it's because one's my parents' fault, one's my husband's fault. And then make sure with Sherry's, you make sure she has an A. So Brittany and I both are just first and last, but Sherry has an A in hers. I always like to point that out because it happens. But we would love to hear from you. Good, bad, indifferent. Yes.
So let me walk behind you a moment here and say, we give a huge thank you for you being here this morning, because this is current, updated, new information and ongoing information. So, and I heard information that applied to elementary. I heard it applying to high school, middle school. So thank you for your time and contact information and availability and access, to you and your expertise. We appreciate you being here.